Okay, I think we'll count this as our group. This reminds me a bit of time that I spend in church, where everybody is in a large space and we make sure that we fill kind of every section as spread out as possible. So well done. My name is Tom Lattin. I'm the Vice President of our ProLiant and Cloudline server businesses at HPE. So appreciate you guys taking a few moments out of the session here, or time here to join this session. What I think many of you probably know HPE as a traditional enterprise company. I can appreciate that. What I'd like to do is share with you a bit about the new direction for the company and how that materializes into a new vision that really will result for us in a much greater participation in the and collaboration in the open server ecosystem. And my expectation is that our participation in a deeper way is going to have a material impact on the way that software is developed, the way that software is delivered, and ultimately the way that it's consumed in the form of workloads. And this really gives an opportunity, I think, for us to radically simplify and democratize the way that developers and users will access tools, access services, access data that ultimately powers those workloads and applications. So I think it's fair to say that we would probably all agree that we live in a hyper-connected or just super-connected world, right? More and more, not just people, but things, devices are connected in order to share data. And through that connectivity, through that data sharing, what we all do as an industry unlocks for the world the ability to create new value, new business value, but it's done in a way that the pace of business is on a constantly increasing rate of acceleration. And so for individuals and for companies, what that often means is that everyone and every entity is really trying to transform itself, to keep up, to keep pace with this accelerated rate of value creation. And certainly the cloud is a key catalyst for enabling this revolution, if you will. But I think now it's safe to say that the cloud itself is really taking on a very kind of different complexion than the earliest introductions. And so at HPE, the way we describe this is that the world has really become hybrid. And by that we mean that there are really private clouds and public clouds and more clouds at the edge. And so when we speak of the hybrid cloud, we really define that as the combination of public and private instantiations of the cloud, whether they're on-premise or off-premise, and not just the fact that they exist, but that there's a real integration across those that's necessary to unlock the next wave of capabilities. And so we know that cloud is not necessarily just a destination, it's really about an experience. And so what we hear quite often from our customers, from many of you, and I suspect that you hear from your customers as well, that what they value is the experience that we get from the public cloud, and it's that experience that allows for easy, rapid access to data and services in a mechanism that is got the economics of more of a pay-per-use model. But as we get more and more clouds that are implemented and more choices for the end customer or the end business customers, this creates more and more complexity. And so it's this complexity that then puts us back into the cycle of over-provisioning or underutilization of equipment, and both of those combined to create uncertainty or unpredictability about costs. And so as we kind of look at the next wave here, we think there's a better way. We think that better way is right at the heart of the the philosophy, I guess, of the Open Compute Project, which is really about an open collaboration within the industry, collaboration across companies and across technologists to create new ways of doing things in a way that is much more consistent with that set of customer expectations. So at HPE, we venture to leverage the relationships that we have with our customers, the relationships that we have with our partners, and certainly relationships with many of you, to create what we refer to as the value fabric. And so the value fabric for us is about openness. It's about new communities, about new development models, about new partnerships, and ultimately about new business models that orchestrates or integrates across companies. The value fabric really creates an economic framework. And this economic framework is about enabling or empowering the open source community to develop software, to develop services, to develop kind of data providing mechanisms with a truly open mindset and a kind of a foundation around open design principles. And so the value fabric as an economic framework is focused on driving innovation, not just for the public cloud, but for any instances of kind of cloud architectures wherever they exist. By implementing similar service models, similar tools, similar methods that can cut across the boundaries of kind of traditional cloud environments and really deliver value precisely where it's needed. And so, we believe that with your help and all of us working together, that we have the opportunity to transform how these new capabilities are developed, how these new capabilities are consumed to enable a set of new insights, new actionable insights ultimately for all of our customers. And so as we look at what it takes to unleash the power of this value fabric, we contend that at the base of that are some of the compute entities. And so for us, that's about the ProLiant servers. And so if we think about kind of the server or compute space of the industry, we certainly can trace the development of the way things have progressed to anticipate what might happen next. And so from bare metal to the web to virtualization, ultimately to containers, and even to what's known as kind of the serverless architectural model. That's the progression that we've been on. And so when we look at what's next, we recognize that it's going to be absolutely critical to integrate more seamlessly across the what today is some fairly rigid boundaries in the cloud space. And so we think of the OCP effort as being a wonderful example of how we've developed to this point and where we will be going to. The OCP certainly has a history of disrupting the traditional hardware infrastructure market, and we see that as key to driving an innovation or a set of innovations in the industry that's key for our customers. And so it's things like the open APIs like the Redfish standard, which we've fully embraced and implement within our product portfolio. It's things like the OCP NIC standard, and ultimately the OCP 3.0 version of that NIC standard, which we'll be putting into our products in the next few months. So we're excited about those kinds of innovation because we know that they're easily adaptable into products that companies like HPE can offer to the market. OCP has stood really at the forefront of many of the key standards that are important for this innovation engine in the industry. We're driving to much more kind of efficient economics and a much more kind of rapid innovation cycle. So as we look at what comes next, we've got to ask ourselves, what's it going to take to get there? And we really see this as that it's critical that we identify where these boundaries exist and focus on dissolving those. And so for us, I've talked a little bit about the value fabric. We're going to start to talk more and more about two other fabrics that we think are instrumental to making this real. The first is a trust fabric, and the second is a connectivity fabric. The trust fabric really is about security. It's about recognizing that The world is full of bad actors. It's a dangerous place out there in general, in particular in the IT space, with folks trying to infiltrate all of the systems that many of us build. The connectivity fabric is about an automated, intelligent, and resilient fabric of connection across all devices, whether they're in a data center or at the edge of the network as well. These two concepts, the trust fabric and connectivity fabric, we'll talk quite a bit more in detail about in the months ahead, and most likely at the Global Summit in March. We'll spend some time going through the detail of those. In the meantime, what I want to draw your attention to is a couple of demos that we have here at the event this week. These are demonstrations that we've put out on the show floor to give you a sense of what we are doing with our server products, specifically with our ProLiant server products, to better integrate into the fabric of the open ecosystem. The first is a demo of the OpenBMC capability. We've implemented this on a ProLiant DL360, which, if you haven't seen this yet, some of you may say, OpenBMC on a ProLiant, those two seem incompatible to me. Absolutely not. Critical demonstration for us that we would love for you to come see. This is about kind of basic BMC management with the ability for our customers to take that and add capabilities to it or extend on to what's there in the standard OpenBMC implementation. The second demonstration is a Linux boot implementation, also on a ProLiant DL360. And so this one is giving you a sense for how we can take the standard Linux boot code and load that with a couple of modifications to the DL360 to enable that to get you a much leaner, much more rapid boot time, but also in a kind of known quantity of firmware, so you know what the code looks like underneath. So whether it's the path that we've kind of been on with Redfish and OCP NIC implementations, or some of these new demonstrations around OpenBMC and Linux boot, my hope is that you kind of have a sense that when we say HPE and HPE ProLiant is absolutely on a path to be an integral part of the OCP community and the open ecosystem in the industry, that is absolutely where we're headed. So I invite you to, if you would, come by these two locations where we have the demos running. That Linux boot demo is actually just outside here in the Google Experience Center. It's on one of the tables there. And Kevin Depew, one of our key engineers, will be happy to take you through all of the details of that. The second demonstration is in our booth downstairs, which is just inside the glass doors from where the registration desk is. And that's where we have several things there for you to see. The first is what we call our virtual rack. It's a rack with a couple of large displays in it that give you a sense to, give you the opportunity to go through the entire product portfolio and have some of our experts explain that to you if you're not familiar with it. We've got some of our hands-on units there for our open servers, some of our leading servers that we've implemented consistent with open standards. And then the third thing is that's where we have the OpenBMC demo that's running as well, and we can take you through the UI there and give you a sense for what that implementation looks like. And again, the Open Linux boot, the Linux boot and the OpenBMC demo, both running on ProLiant DL360s. So certainly understand, as I kind of led off, that many of you think of HPE as a traditional enterprise vendor or supplier. Yes, we expect that we will continue to serve the enterprise market in a very big way, but I also want to emphasize that this direction for us, the vision that we have for the company, is very consistent and in line with what OCP stands for and is about, and we're implementing it today in real products, and we're sharing with you some of the stuff that's going on in the lab in terms of capabilities that were being contemplated for potentially for future products. So please come see us at those demos. We'd love to get your feedback on those implementations. We'd love to get some relationships in place too that we could extend on beyond just the event here and carry on some additional collaboration and get ongoing feedback from you as well. So thank you for, again, taking time here. Hope you can come see us in those sessions. If you've got additional questions, I'll be here, and we actually have several of the HPE folks in the room here too that are some of the experts, and I could direct you to those if necessary. Thank you.